Okay, so welcome. Okay, today's lesson will be different because it will be for discussing the midterm assignment, the one that I told you last time I was thinking of. So I prepared like the assignment, and I want to discuss with you, all of the requirements. I want to devote all of the class for that, so that all of us keep a clear idea of what we are expecting, what I'm expecting from that assignment. And if you have any questions, today is the moment to solve all together the questions, okay? Okay, so basically in the calendar, I already uploaded the file with the specifications of the assignment. So let's read the text, and as I will be reading, if you have any question, please let me know, okay? Okay, so this is the midterm assignment. It is on HTML and CSS. So the only two topics this assignment will be about is HTML and CSS. Okay, and first of all, this is optional, as we decided last time. So if you want to do the assignment, you are able to do the assignment. What will happen for the people that will submit the assignment? You will have 5 points in the final exam. Up to 5 points. Up to 5 points, sure. So if you submit and everything is fine, you get 5 points, and in that cases, the final exam will be up to 25. Okay. Otherwise, for the people who don't have time for submitting the assignment, the final exam will be regular 30 points exam. Okay. Yeah.
In which cases would it be that we submit but earn less than 5 points?
In those cases,
Like how is it created?
we'll get to that. Okay. Up to here, the thing that I want to make to emphasize is that it's optional. Okay. You are encouraged to, but it's optional. So if you don't want to, or you don't have time, or then you present the final exam, and the final exam will be up to 30 points. Is this clear? Are we fine with that? 5 points, do we agree, is enough? Yeah. Sorry? Where you can get the task, you mean? No, I will explain all the assignment today. Just up to now, it's optional. Okay. Okay. Are we fine with the 5 points?
So this is separate from the final project?
Yeah, it's separate. Okay. Okay, so in this midterm assignment, you will be building upon the social network that we have building so far in the lab. Okay. The purpose of this assignment, this is super important, and that's why I decided to do this assignment, is to give you the opportunity to apply what we have learned on HTML and CSS by redesigning the application interface and producing a coherent original version visual proposal. Okay. So what is the reason I wanted to do this assignment? Because anyway, you are doing things, important, valuable things during the lab, but somehow the work that you are doing in the lab is not being assessed by anyone. So I wanted to give you the opportunity that work that you do during the lab can have some assessment, at least in the HTML, concerning HTML and CSS. So on the one hand is to put on practice what we have learned up so far concerning HTML and CSS. And in the other hand, it has to do also because this exam will be submitted using GitHub Classroom. I don't know if you are familiar with. Indeed, a question. Are you familiar with Git? Up to far, you have been working with Git. Do you have any? Okay, Nice. If you don't, this would have been a good opportunity to get started with Git. With GitHub, yes. Are you familiar with GitHub? Okay, and GitHub Classroom, have you ever used GitHub Classroom? Okay, so GitHub Classroom is like a platform by GitHub to submit assignments. It's not difficult, it's not nothing very complex, and an advantage of using GitHub Classroom is that in the web applications course, the final submission is done through GitHub Classroom. So somehow, if you want to take the web applications course, you are familiar with the platform. Okay. So another goal of this assignment is also to get familiar with Git and okay. Questions so far? Nice. So the task is to redesign the interface of the application using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. Starting from the version of the project developed in the lab sessions, you should create your own visual proposal for the application by redefining its interface, layout, and presentation of content. So up to now, what we have been doing in the labs is that I give you like a very boring standard mockup, and I ask you to replicate that mockup. Okay? It is boring and it doesn't have anything special because we are focusing more on the functionalities, and I didn't want to give you like a complex task concerning the visual part. But in this specific assignment, the idea is the opposite, that you have the freedom to make that boring standard mockup, make it become something different and something visually appealing. Okay. So, this is maybe the most important part. You're encouraged to rethink the interface and redesign it as creatively as possible. You are expected to make substantial changes to the visual identity of the application. So I'm not expecting to get back like the same mockup or the same structure. The idea is the opposite, that you experiment with different components, colors, fonts, whatever you want. You are completely free, and you are encouraged indeed to use whatever you want, including its layout, color palette, typography, spacing, navigation, and the overall look and feel. Okay? So this is the most important part. So somehow the success outcome of this assignment depends on you, on how much work do you put on this to make something different, to make something substantially different from what we have been doing right now. Okay? If you do something with different colors, different typography, you use another layout, you integrate different components that we haven't seen in Bootstrap, you customize Bootstrap, you create your own styles, you change the navigation, you experiment with everything, I'm super happy, and you get the 5 points. Okay? So in this case, the idea is not to create something functional, something somehow structured, but here you have the freedom to experiment. Why would I be happy if you do something like that? Because at that point, I know that you have been searching on the Bootstrap website, that you have been looking for new components, that you were proficient in seeing how to customize something. So I would be super satisfied if that's the outcome, okay? So that's why, since no functional implementation is required for this assignment, what does it mean? The page doesn't have to make any functionality. It's just HTML and CSS, just the front end, okay? So since no functional implementation is required for this assignment, you are free to represent graphically any features or interactions you wish to include in your design, even if you don't know how they would be implemented technically or if they haven't been covered in class. Is clear what this means? What does this mean?
You can learn extra stuff and
You can?
learn extra stuff and implement in the website.
No, not that specific. It's easier than that. No, I mean here, nothing will work technically, okay? So if you say, okay, now in my redesign of my social network, I will suppose that you can make a friend request, for instance. So you can place there a button saying send request, send friend request, even if that button doesn't work, because we still don't know, we wouldn't know how to implement that functionality. Or if you say, for instance, now in my web application, I want to integrate music, and you like place everything graphically, even if that doesn't work.
To just implement the idea?
Yeah, the layout, the graphical layout. Okay, so the button that suggests that there is a functionality behind, or the button that suggests, well, send request, send a message. I don't know what else could come. I mean, it's up to you, the creativity on that. So you are free to indicate graphically functionalities that don't have to be implemented, that you don't know how to implement, but that on the graphical interface makes sense. Is this clear? Yeah?
We don't have to add any additional pages to the one that we already worked on, like the home page, about page.
No, we'll get to that, because I will ask you to set the landing page, the single post page, and then 2 more pages that you can decide which pages you want to create. Okay? The landing, the page for the single post, and then you are free. So if you want to, yeah, to create 2 more pages. Okay. Yeah. So 4 in total. We'll get to that. Okay.
So ginger is not allowed because we can use Flask.
You don't have to use Flask. No, here, no Flask. Just at the end, the submission will be HTML and CSS. Okay? Not yet, because we haven't seen JavaScript. Okay? Is it clear up to now? Questions? Okay. Okay, we'll get to that. Okay. But up to now, questions from what I've said so far? So if in the interface, basically you can do the same exercise that we did here when we were designing, how's the name? Imparato, no? That we did like that hand drawing design, and then we translated that design into the HTML and CSS, even if we didn't know how to make it work, okay? Okay, so for example, your interface may include elements such as adding friends, signing up. For instance, you can make it a page for the registration or for the sign up. Instant messaging, liking posts, writing comments, or sharing music, whatever you want, okay? Whenever possible, your redesign should be guided by a clear thematic concept. So this came to my mind in case you want to create the social network for electronic music, or the social network for, I don't know, and try to give I think it could help to make an idea of what you want to create. Of course, based on your personal interests. So the social network for the people who play football or play tennis, or the social network for the people who play this video game or this table. So in that case, you are completely free. And I think that if you decide a theme, it is even easier to implement the assignment, okay? Yeah.
You said that it is to use Flask.
Yeah.
But in the labs, it was required to implement it with the Flask engine. So we have already used it.
Yeah, but here we're thinking just on the front end, just on the labs that were done for the front end, not the ones concerning Flask. You know what I mean? So here is just to redesign, because here is just to assess the knowledge and the familiarity with HTML and CSS, okay? Then the exam, the final course exam, will be of course on Flask and everything else that we will learn. But here is just to assess HTML and CSS. Okay. Okay, for example, you may imagine the platform as a social network centered around a particular interest, activity, or community. You can choose, of course. And then your final submission should combine originality with coherence, readable code, and effective use of HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. And proper adaptation of small mobile screens. So a technical requirement that I will ask you for this midterm assessment is to make it responsive for small devices. Okay. So for the telephone, basically. Questions? Everything clear? Okay, so this is something like a little parenthesis on the course. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of these Webby Awards. No? You don't know what it is? So this Webby Awards is like the Oscars, but for the web development and the web implementation. And they are super famous, and it basically consists that the most beautiful websites in the world get nominated, and then the people get in there in the website and vote for them. Okay? So since these days the voting is currently taking place, I thought that this could be a good source of inspiration, so that you can take a look at the websites that you find there and somehow find inspirations on them, on how to look, design ideas, even if we are not designers, visual trends, interaction patterns, and creative approaches, so that we can get some inspiration from there to create our website. Okay. Of course, this is just for inspiration. I'm not expecting you to create something like this or to imitate any specific website, but to observe, analyze, and develop your own proposal. So let me check. So it's this the website. Okay, and the nominees for this year are here. So if we click on Go Vote, it has, okay, here it has like the categories in there. And here it has websites and mobile sites, okay? So, let's randomly choose something. So for instance, best navigation and structure, for instance. And here you find like the 5 pages that have been nominated under that category. Which one do you inspire more of these ones? Which one do you want to check? Let's check this one. So of course here there are some things, some animations that we don't know how to make because it's JavaScript, but for the static parts of the website we can think of, for instance, how they decided to place this navigation bar, how they structured the information, which information are they showing, how are they displaying the images, which contents are being shown on the landing page, where did they place the logo, how they deal with the images. So something like this could be nice. If you think of your social network, maybe here you can add comments or add like quotes from the users. Do you like this one? Let's this is a different one. For instance, here you could think also in your website to place like a background image, and in front of the background image some message could be nice. in this case, for instance, they choose this navigation, in which all of the buttons of the navigation are placed like in a different zeta index, so you can see that they are above all of the other contents. You know what it means? Okay. Let's see something. This one is nice because it's animation or motion graphics. This is very advanced because it's an 3D animation, something like this, but of course I'm not expecting something like this, but somehow it can give inspiration or on how to structure the website.
But if we have like such an idea which we think is possible, maybe even without JavaScript,
Sure.
but we don't like we can sketch it, but if we don't know how to implement it.
Sure. No, I mean, if you create like for instance, if you create something like this, but without the animations, but just with the image behind, it's completely fine. Okay. Is that the question?
No, but the question is, we have to like implement it after all in HTML.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not about just designing. It's also
No, it's not just designing, but also the implementation, the HTML and CSS. Sure. Well, I don't know. For instance, if someone wants to create something like this, like a huge text to highlight something, for instance, best homepage. Which one do you want me to open? This one maybe? The Renaissance edition? I've seen this one, it's nice. If you want, then we can see a different one. Yeah, this one is awesome. But for instance, from this one, of course, I'm not expecting something as difficult and complex like this, but for instance, here we can take a look that they decided to set the navigation in this part of the page. So that could be a design decision that you could make also on your pages. Or they decided not, for instance, this one doesn't have like the typical navigation bar that it's here in the top, but instead of that, they set the navigation here. So that's, for instance, a design decision you could take inspiration from. Or they set this button here in the top right portion of the website, so maybe for login or sign in, that could work. So well, that's basically the idea with these IWA awards, that you can get some inspiration, see from websites that are super successful how they designed or how they structured the content, and based on that, take inspiration for yours. Okay. Hopefully, by the end of the course, you will be able to implement something like this. Okay. Questions? Okay, so the question that you asked me before. So here for the submission, I'm expecting a minimum of 4 pages, 4 HTML pages. The required ones or the mandatory ones are the landing page and an individual post page that they have been the pages we've been working with so far. And the remaining 2 pages are left to your discretion and should be chosen according to your own redesign proposal. Okay, so it depends on what you created, which functionalities you imagine, and based on that you can create the other 2 pages. Yep.
The landing page must be the page where we can visualize all the posts, and individual post page must be a page where we can visualize just one
post. Yeah. Then you can decide how to visualize them, if you want to set one post more important than the others, if you want to continue displaying them in a list, or maybe in a grid, or maybe with cards, or maybe with, that's what I want you to.
The landing page.
Yeah, and in the individual post page, you could also think of, okay, I will show you the content of the post, but then I will show you also like the related posts, or the tags, or the comments, or the likes, or pictures related to that post. So here you can think of whatever you want. Okay, so 4 pages, okay? And your submission must satisfy the following technical requirements. First of all, the interface must be using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. That is obvious. Then the final result must be responsive. This is important, okay? The responsiveness is not something that is required usually for the final exam, but here for this assignment, I wanted this to be responsive. Not for all the devices, just for the phone. So if we think of Bootstrap, just for the small class, okay? You don't have to implement all the breakpoints, but just like the regular one and the one for the mobile phone, the small, okay? The HTML structure should be clear, well organized, easy to read, and based on the appropriate semantic tags. So here I'm expecting to see semantic tags. Do we remember what semantic tags are? Yes? What are semantic tags?
Like
Section aside, nav. So in the HTML, I don't want to see like everything solved with div, but instead of that, I want to see aside, a header, a footer, what we have seen so far, okay? And then the application should remain usable and visually coherent across different screen sizes. Different screen sizes, once again, the small one and the big one, just that. Okay, one of the goals of this assignment is to deepen your understanding on Bootstrap, including what utilities and components provided by the framework you can use. The more meaningful you explore what Bootstrap has to offer, the better. So if I see that also that in your final submission you have used tons of components of Bootstrap, nice. If you have used cards, tables, images, thumbnails, buttons, whatever Bootstrap has, better. Indeed, that's the idea, that you go to the Bootstrap website and check out what they have there to use. But this doesn't mean that you have to use all of the components. I mean, you use the ones that are useful for your purposes, but that's all. I mean, that's all. And it's an opportunity to experiment with the framework and make deliberate design choices. You are also encouraged to customize Bootstrap. I would expect also some kind of customization of Bootstrap, so that the final submission is not just like the boring Bootstrap colors and everything purple and gray, but that you can change the colors, that you can choose maybe a palette and then use that palette across all of the site, that you change the fonts, that you change the paddings, the margins, whatever you want, okay? So the idea somehow of a successful project is that it's not just like the static like look and feel of Bootstrap. But that you can achieve your own visual proposal more effectively. Fine. Now, the submission will take place through GitHub Classroom using the repository template provided for the assignment. So we will get to this in a second. Okay. First of all, the deadline, and then we get to the repository. So the deadline is May 18. Okay. Why May 18? Not because this is a super difficult task. It is super ahead in the time, but the reason for that is that on this week here, that is like the 2nd May week, you will have the lessons with the Professor De Russis, and he will be doing the lessons on designing for the web, okay? That has to do with information architecture and visual design, and he will give you some hints and concepts on that, on typography, on spacing, on. So I wanted that the submission to be after this week, so that if you have time, somehow you can integrate what you will learn on this week, okay? So the idea is not to do everything here, but the idea is to work by yourself on your implementation, and after what you will learn with him, try to implement or to adopt some concepts or some insights that he might be giving you. So since I know that the submission is here just after the lessons, I decided also to give you this hour here, the 2nd hour of Tuesday, and the laboratory of that week, so that you can work on the final adjustments of the submission. Okay. So once again, the idea is not to do everything on this week, but to start from now working on the submission, and with the information with what you will learn with Professor De Russis, try to incorporate or to adapt whatever you can to integrate in your submission. Clear? Okay, so the deadline is May 18 at 23:59. Okay? Be careful with this, because this final submission time is already set in the platform. Okay? So if you try to commit something after this hour, you won't be able. So here, an important advice is work incrementally on this. So start working from now, and each change that you will be doing, commit, push to the repository so that you can incrementally save all of the changes directly in the remote repository. Okay? And please be careful with this. If you don't commit anything or you don't submit anything by this time, I will not accept any submissions by any other means. So if someone says, no, because my internet was down and I had to submit the files by mail or by tele. So the only submission possible is here until before this time. Okay? After that time, no further commits will be accepted. Questions? Okay, so let's see how you are supposed to submit the assessment. So we will use GitHub Classroom using the repository template that I will provide you. So if now you open the in your computers, you go to the calendar, you open the PDF, and you click here on the accept the assignment here. You should be seeing something like this, right? If you want, you can try, so we can do it all together and we can configure everything. So here you will find the link, and if you click on the link, you will be redirected to this page. In this page, you will find your name. I have there is a list of everyone. And then when you find your name, for instance, I set up my name here just for the example, you click on there. Okay, I already had my GitHub account opened, and I was already registering GitHub. So basically here it says that if I want to accept the assignment, it will link my GitHub account with the assignment, with the repository of the assignment. And once I accept this assignment, you will be granted access to this repository that GitHub will automatically create for me, okay? So you will click accept this assignment. And then you are ready to go. You are accepted, your assignment repository has been created, and you have configured the repository associated with this assignment. Your assignment is due to May 18, 2026. Okay, I will change this because this is 23. Let me. Because this is in the UTC. But in our case, it should be, okay, 2359. Okay, so it's May 18, 2359. And, well, basically, now you will have in your personal GitHub account this repository. If you click here, you can see that you had this repository. What does the repository has so far? It has a README file, and this README file, you are required to submit that or to add that README file in your final submission. So you are supposed to edit this file with the information that I'm requiring here. That is the name, the student ID, the proposal. So here you will have to write a short description of what you implemented, what was the concept. Then you have to write here which were the main changes. And this is important, is something I haven't told you about, but also one submission artifact that I'm expecting from you is a hand-drawn sketch, okay? So I want you to follow like the same process that we have been following here with Imparato, that first we created like a hand-drawn sketch, and then upon that we started with implementation. So for the final submission, you will be submitting the 4 HTML files, the CSS, and this README template completed or filled, okay? And then here I'm asking you to list which files did you use or any additional notes or comments that you want to add. Yeah.
Are we expected to use Flask and templates?
No, just HTML and CSS. Yeah.
This repository, is it public? Like
No, it's private.
okay.
Yeah.
For GitHub, do we use our personal account or
Your personal account. Yeah, your personal account.
with our personal email?
Yeah.
But nobody can see the repository.
No, nobody can see the repository. As you can see here, private. No, it's completely it's private. I mean, just I can see the repository, but. So let's say that, for instance, you want to start working on the assignment. So you should be doing something like this. You should be cloning your repository in your computer, and then within that repository, so for instance here, this is the repository, no? So what does it has? The README file. What you have to do with the README file? Well, fill your information. So here you should write the proposal. Here you should set the main changes. Here you should add like the drawing or the images of the drawing that you have done. This is Markdown. So everyone knows how to use Markdown. This syntax. Okay, super easy. It's just basically like this. And then, for instance, then I want to start working on my project. What should I do? Create the index.html file, okay? And let's suppose that this is of course an example. Let's suppose that I did this, and then my advice, and what I've been telling you before, is each change you do, everything you work on here, commit immediately after you save or after you do something, okay? Because in this case, here in your repository, you will be saving all of the progress that you are making on the completion of the assignment. Have you tried to link your account in GitHub Classroom? Does it work? Why?
I got photo saying repository access issue.
Has?
Access issue. I need to contact teacher for support.
Okay. You too? You are not on the list. Okay, then you are not in the list? Who is not on the list? No one is in the list? But strange, because we have 174 students.
I'm on the list, but I also have a repository access issue.
Okay. Which issue is that?
You no longer have access to your assignment repository. Contact your teacher for support.
Is this you?
I'm the first one.
You are the first one, and you are having that issue.
I'm the second one, but I don't have any issue.
Okay. Who is not on the list? Aggiungi una deadline? Quello lì. Let's recap. Can you take me mi fai vedere un attimo il computer?
Poi non è che posso aggiungere, cioè ci sono dentro però.
Ah, no, sei a posto.
È a posto?
No, sì, questo è il repository, appunto, cioè, questo è il repository. No, questo add deadline è il messaggio di commit che ho messo io,
Ah, ok,
capito?
ok.
Però questo è il repository e poi vai a clonare il repository così come ho fatto adesso.
ok, grazie.
Sì, no, ma lì sei a posto. E... Okay, who's not in the list? Just one example? Okay, what's your surname?
Giraudo.
Here.
Yes, but I don't find my
Let's me.
student number. Like they are ordered by student number, and there is an order between 3216 and 3217.
Ah, maybe, okay. Oh no, let me check. Sì. So let's do this. I'll check one by one because I did it super quick, like the upload of the list. So I'll check again with this one. Okay, I found you here, so let's randomly choose. You are also in this one. Okay, so this one is the correct one because I downloaded this and I pre-processed that to create just the CSV, just with these three columns. So I will check. I'll check again, and I will send you a message through Telegram when everything is clear, so that you can link the account there. Okay. Okay. Well, it's strange. Okay, I'll check that. I'll check that and then I will upload the final list, because I can upload this CSV, but it has lots of information, of private information, so I don't want to upload everything. So I'll check and then I will upload again the list, okay? Okay, so for me, the homework is to upload the list, and then as soon as everything is okay, I will send you a message so that you can check everything there. And finally, okay, the last part, and then we finish, okay? Please. So the submission, no, the last part was this. So the evaluation criteria that I think it's super important also for you. So first of all, the originality and the creativity of the redesign. Then the coherence and the overall quality of the visual proposal. So you are free to do everything, but it should work and should be done good. Then the correct and effective use of HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. So everything we have seen so far, that the CSS is in a different file, that it gets imported, how we name the classes, which name do we give, how do we apply the styles, and everything else. Then we will check also the code readability, structure, and organization, the responsive behavior and the adaptation to small mobile screens, and the clarity and the usability of the interface. So this is an individual assignment. So you may consult online resources for reference and inspiration, but of course, each one of you should be working on your own submission, okay? Questions? Is everything clear? Do you have to submit something in Flask? Do you have to submit any functionality? No, it's just HTML, CSS. Does all of the content that you include there has to be implemented, or should we know how to implement? No, we are free to add buttons, add behaviors, add everything, even if we don't know how to implement that. Well, I don't know. Again, please read again the text by your own, and if any doubt comes to your mind, or if you have any question, please write on the Telegram post, on the Telegram chat, so that at least this week we are all sure that everything was clear, okay? Okay, nice. So we stop here and see you tomorrow.